No, Erev Tov to everyone, and we're here in the weekly Dvar Malchus class. And beginning, we always commence with the weekly story. And this week, the story or stories, two short stories, are interwound with the portion of the week, with the portion of the week of Achrei Meis Kedoshim, specifically with Achrei Meis. And also we see that there is a connection with the time of the year that we find ourselves in the days of the counting of the Omer, and more specifically in regard to the counting of the Omer, not only the preparation for Matan Torah, but also the uplifting and the purification of our attributes, specifically coming and studying this in a manner of negation from the students of Rabbi Akiva that were taken away in these days because of the famous reason, Shelei Nohagu Koved Ze Bazeh. They did not show respect one for another, for each other. But getting first and foremost to the parasha, when we speak about these parashas, they're incredible in regard to their content. But the beginning of the parasha of Achrei Meis, it speaks about how Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to teach Aaron and his sons not how not to come and serve in the tabernacle, in the Mishkan, and afterwards in the Beis Hamikdash, but how they should serve in order for them to be able to maintain their existence, not like the two sons Nadav and Avihu that perished. And one of the major services in the Mishkan, later in the Beis Hamikdash, is the Haktoras Hakteres, is the burning of the incense, and this is something that is very, very heavenly, very spiritual concept. The concept of smell, which we're taught is the one of the five senses that is connected with the neshama itself, not just the body, but also and specifically with the neshama, the concept of smell. It says to the extent that the brides of Yerushalayim, they would not have to go and to use any specific perfumes, because the odor, the beautiful perfume from the Ketores filled Yerushalayim. That's the extent of the physical influence of the Ketores. But when we look into the Ketores, it has 11 elements. Basically, that's the way it's taught. 11 elements. We say it every day, twice a day, before Shacharis, before Mincha. And in these 11 elements, we find an element which is one of the major compositions of the Ketores. It's called the Livona. And the Livona, it has 70 portions of Livona. We don't understand. Livona is one of the, it's made up of different types of spices and concepts of things that were grounded up, grounded up, stones that were grounded up, and from this it was burnt in the Beis Hamikdash on a daily basis. In Yom Kippur, the Ketores was brought into the Holy of Holies, into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But there is one thing, the Levoinah, which basically it's kind of like a tar that when it's burnt, it has a terrible odor, a really, really not good odor. So why is this the main composition of the Ketores? So it's taught among the commentaries that are brought in regard to this. It's taught that this is the basic concept that Hashem has the greatest of pleasure from. The pleasure from that Hashem receives is not that from the good smell or the good actions, the good deeds that we do on a constant basis, but it's basically going and taking that which is not good, like the livona, the tar, and mixing it together with all the other good fragrant elements of the Ketores, and this brings about that even the Levoina is receiving, it's imbued with this wonderful fragrance that we mentioned before of the Ketores. So basically, and this is also what the Rebbe mentions, the whole idea of the Ketores is that Hashem enjoys surprises. He doesn't like that which is a constant. We're commanded to do the mitzvahs on a constant basis, but he wants to have the novelty. And that's also brought in Chassidus. The concept of pleasure is Ikar HaTainug B'Yischadshus Dafka. The major concept of pleasure is that which is a novelty, not something that a person has on a regular basis, but something that is a surprise. And that's taking the not good, that element that does not smell, does not have a great fragrance, and just the opposite, and making it into good. And this is the concept that it teaches us in our everyday life. Even though we might have those things that we have our shortcomings, we have those things that we might have done that were not appropriate, that were not in desirable unto Hashem, we can take those things and we, with the power of tshuva, we can go and we can turn them around, and we can give them the wonderful fragrance of the Ketores. And about this, we'll hear two stories. The first story has to do with a famous shtibel in Borough Park. If anyone knows, there is it's like a central shtibel of minyanim going and being cycled around the clock, Shachris, Mincha, and Mayev. It's called the minyan of Shomrei Shabbos. Shomrei Shabbos. They not only have a constant cycle of minyanim, of quorums for all the services, but also they make sure that in the entrance. Today we can see it in many Lubavitcher places, shuls all over the world, and especially in Chabad houses. They have a beautiful custom. They made a coffee or a tea corner, and they have teas from all over the world, so that people that need to, they can refresh themselves and they can bring about the strength that is needed before davening, the preparations before davening on a physical basis, so they'll be able to go into to daven properly. And if a person needs it, sometimes a person comes from a far away place, and they don't have strength. They have something to go and to give them a physical strengthening before they sit down to daven. The question is, where did this whole shul come from? Where did this shtibel? How was it founded? So it's told that there was a young man, and he was going out on shidduchim. He was going out on dates, looking for his better half. And one of the times that he went out with the shidduch, so they sat, they spoke, and everything seemed to be wonderful until Shkia came. When sunset came, all of a sudden, the young man remembered that he didn't daven mincha yet. So what does a person do when Shkia comes? He excuses himself and he says, I have to apologize, but I need to daven mincha, and it's Shkia. He goes into a corner, and bearing in mind that he has this young lady waiting for him, and he thought halachically it's something that would give him lenience to daven fast. So he davened mincha very as fast as he could, obviously saying all the words and so on, but he finished mincha and he came back and sat down. At the end of the meeting, each one parted to their own ways. They got back to the shadchanis. He said that he would like very much to continue with the shidduch. She said, nothing doing. I don't want to go out with this guy again. And the shadchan asked why. So she said, he's lacking in his yiras shamayim. He's lacking in his fear of Hashem. I was a witness to the fact that he davened mincha, and it was like, 1, 2, 3, a skip and a jump, and he was already back, sitting with me. As much as the Shadchan or the Shadchanis, whoever it was, tried to explain that this was showing his reverence, his fear of Hashem, because he was looking out for this young lady, that she shouldn't have the wear and tear of waiting until he would sit and stand and daven and have all the great kavanas, all the intentions. She didn't want to hear about it, and she said, "No, I don't wish to continue with this person." When the young man was told why she didn't want to continue with him, he was very much hurt to the depths of his heart, because he was a person that did have yiras shamayim, but because of this act, this was something that showed the young lady of something that he was lacking in, his shortcoming. So he decided that he's going to invest in what? In making a shtibel, making a shul, and this shul will be able to comply with all the walks of davening. People can come in and out, and people will be able to go and to prepare themselves properly for davening. He made sure that this shul will have also the coffee corner, the tea corner, that the people will be able to go and to daven properly with good kavanah. After many, many years that he established the shul, the shtibel, so lo aleinu, there was he heard that this woman that he originally went out with, she passed away. Okay, when he heard that this woman passed away, he called up the Chevra Kadisha, and he asked them if they would, in the levaya, in the when they will be taking the woman to be buried, the funeral, if they can come by and stop at the shul of Shomrei Shabbos. They said, sure, it's one of the main shuls in Borough Park. When they came by and they stopped, so he stood up and he started to speak loudly. And he didn't say too many words. He just said, he was speaking to the nifta, the deceased woman, and he said, "Take a look at this shul. Take a look at this incredible foundation of Yiddishkeit. Do you see this? This is all yours. This is all in your merit. And it all belongs to you. It's all due to you, and it all belongs to you." He didn't say why, he didn't explain. And with that, the funeral continued. So from this one first story, we see how something that seemed to be negative, this woman went and she crossed out, she blackmarked this person as a person that doesn't have yiras shamayim. Person would be very hurt, and he was hurt, but he didn't allow this pain to go and to overcome him, to go into devour him. He took the pain and he made from this pain the beautiful shtibel that is known today as Shomrei Shabbos. This is what the concept of nahagu koved ze bazeh, when we have, like the students of Rabbi Akiva on a positive note teach us that we have to be able to go and to contain the other person's opinion, to respect the other person's ideas and concepts, as long as they follow up and they're in synchronization with the laws of the Torah, of course. This is the first story. The second story is a story that's here in Eretz Yisrael years ago. There was a woman who in her elderly years, she became an almona lo aleinu. She became a widow, and she received a great amount of money from her husband. And she decided that with this money, she's going to go and she's going to take care of all of her grandchildren. She had many grandchildren. I think that she had to count, I think perhaps 20 grandchildren. And she said that she made the custom that every single granddaughter that got married, so she would take personally to one of the major jewelry stores. I think in the Geula, in the Geula quarter of Yerushalayim, and she would go and she would show all the gold watches to the granddaughter, and she would pick out a gold watch for her wedding, for the marriage, and she would pay for it. And this was the concept that went on many, many years. It came the last grandchild to marry off, and it was a grandson, but the grandson also, he has a collar. So the grandmother took the collar to the shop, and the collar went, and she was like very, very much embarrassed even from going into such a very beautiful jewelry shop. And she was told, here, choose yourself a watch. And she couldn't even choose a watch. So the grandmother had to choose the most beautiful watch for her, gold inlaid with diamonds or diamond dust and whatever. And she said, here, this is for the chasana. This is for the wedding. It was before before the vort. It was before the tnoim, the vort, the engagement. But she felt that it was such a valuable present. She couldn't even wear it for the engagement party. She said she's going to wear it for the wedding. Okay, came the wedding, and she put on the gold watch. And as we know, things are very freilach. Everything is jumping up and down in a wedding. The chassan and kala, at the end of the chasana, they are brought home to the place where they're staying. And as the kala looks at her wrists, she sees that something's missing. No watch. And she is shocked. Wow, what is she going to do now? So she tells her newly wed husband what's the predicament here. And they both start like turning over all the presents and all the things that they received, everything, and they just can't find the watch. She was really in a bad situation. And he also felt bad, but after all, she has to in the Sheva Brachos, she has to face all her new sister-in-laws. She has to face her mother-in-law. She has to face her grandmother-in-law that brought her the watch. What is she going to do? There was nothing to do, and that's the way everything went on. This kind of feeling isn't something that you can just shake off like water off a duck's back. And it went on with this terrible feeling for something like 6 months, half a year. Without saying anything, a newlywed couple going on with such a state of melancholy, it could bring a nervous breakdown. But it went on, and until finally the chassan and kala sat down to watch a video. They sat down and watched a video of the wedding. Okay, they're sitting watching the video. I don't know if they had popcorn, if they didn't have popcorn, it makes no difference. They're watching the video, and then the chassan says to his wife, "Listen, I feel so uplifted. I want to feel like I felt the night of the wedding." So he went and he took out from the closet the suit that he wore, the jacket that he wore the night of the wedding. A Lubavitcher would wear his sirtuk. In this case, it wasn't it was a jacket. He puts on the jacket and he buttons it up, and he comes to sit down. Then he says, "Wow, something is sticking me. Something, there's something bulky in the jacket pocket." So she looks at him and says, "What is it?" He puts his hand into the pocket, and what does he take out? He takes out of his pocket the gold watch inlaid with the diamonds and the diamond dust. And she looks at him, and she has tears coming down her cheeks. Half a year, 6 months. It wasn't even her fault. There was, she was not to blame. It was in his pocket the whole time. Unbelievable. Seemingly unbelievable. Anyway, that's not the end of the story. 24 years go by. And their daughter that they had, she became a kala. Yeah. She became a kala, and she wants very much to be able to go into to have money to give her jewelry, but she doesn't feel good about going and giving her own jewelry to her daughter. So she went and she took the watch to the jewelry store in Geula, in the neighborhood of Geula, in order to go and to sell it, weigh it and sell it for whatever it's worth. And with this, she'll buy new jewelry. She went to this shop, and this shop already is like, it's already 20 years after the grandmother finished marrying off her grandchildren. And now it's another 24 years where the great-granddaughter is a kala. She goes to the shop, and the guy is already like, it's the last foot of his business. Everything was, full of dust, but he still comes to the shop in order to have something to do during the day. And she comes with the watch, and she says, "Listen, this is a watch that was brought from me from your shop. I'd like you to weigh it, tell me how much it's worth, and give me whatever it's worth." He takes the watch, he puts on his mannequin, and he looks at the watch up and down, back and forth, and he says, "Listen, I'd like to give you what you're asking for, but this is a watch that didn't come from me. It's not one of my watches." She says, "Of course it's one of your watches. It was brought to me when I first became a kala. My grandmother-in-law brought it here." He says, "Believe me, if it was one of my watches, I would weigh it and I would give you the money's worth. But it's not one of my watches. Take the watch and bring it back to wherever you purchased it from." She can't believe, she can't understand, and she goes home and she looks at the bill of sale. It was still in the original package. She looks at the bill of sale and she sees that, yon and behold, this guy wasn't the source of where this watch came from. It came from another jewelry store. And then she put two and two together, and she understood that when half a year later, after they got married and they saw the video of the wedding, and the watch was found in the guy's blazer, in his jacket from the chasana, it wasn't the watch that was lost. He went and he brought another watch, and he substituted it in order that his wife will be able to get back to her senses, in order that she will not have the embarrassment, the busha, that she was going through for 6 months, and who knows how long she would bear this pain for all the time to come. And so, again, we see from another story that we just heard, how much a person has to have not only avas Yisrael, but respect for another Jew. This guy, he could have just pointed the finger of blame, the accusing finger at his newlywed wife, and he could have accused her like everyone else was, like, maybe not to her face, but in back of her back. "Oh, our new sister-in-law, the gold watch with the diamonds that grandma brought her, she doesn't know how to take care of things. She doesn't, if that's the way she is, maybe she doesn't even know how to take care, she's going to have children. She won't be able to take care of the children. Who's going to educate the children?" And so on and so forth. No, the husband took things into hand, and he looked and he searched how he can go and rectify the situation. And this is what the students of Rabbi Akiva, in a manner of negation at least, Nahagu kovid ze bazeh, the Rebbe always mentions it in the sichas that the Rebbe gives us, or like Ba'imer, that this is what we are meant to learn from the students of Rabbi Akiva, that we are meant to practice respect one for another, to be able to go and to contain the other person's behavior, the other person's character, the other person's personality, despite the fact that it might be the opposite of what we feel and the opposite of what we think. And this is basically the bottom line. The Rebbe says how we, Bezrat Hashem, Teichef Umiyad Mamash, immediately now will bring the Izgolos, the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach, on a good and revealed basis with happiness and joy of the heart, in a manner of peace and tranquility. And the main thing is that it should be Teichef Umiyad Mamash, Mamash, Mamash. Ki Adonenu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach Le'olam Voed.